Think about the last time you picked up your phone just to check one notification, and somehow 45 minutes vanished. You didn't plan it. You didn't choose it. You simply lost yourself inside a system so perfectly engineered that your brain never stood a chance. Most people blame themselves for this. They call themselves lazy, undisciplined, or addicted. But what if the real answer is far more unsettling than that? What if some of the most brilliant minds in behavioral science were paid millions of dollars specifically to make sure you could not stop scrolling? What if your attention, your most precious cognitive resource, was quietly turned into a product, packaged, and sold to the highest bidder while you were staring at a screen? The truth about social media is not a conspiracy theory. It is documented, it is scientific, and it is deeply psychological. Every platform you use daily, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, was not built to connect you with the world. It was built to capture your mind, hold it hostage, and generate profit from every second of your awareness. The architects of these platforms did not stumble onto addictive design by accident. They studied behavioral psychology. They studied casino mechanics. They studied the neuroscience of craving and reward. And then they applied every single lesson to the interface sitting in the palm of your hand. B.F. Skinner, one of the most influential behavioral psychologists in history, discovered that the most powerful way to condition any creature's behavior is not through consistent rewards. It is through unpredictable ones. He called it a variable reward schedule. When a rat in a lab presses a lever and sometimes receives a food pellet, but other times receives nothing, it presses the lever more compulsively than if it received a reward every single time. The uncertainty itself becomes the addiction. Now replace that lever with your thumb. Replace that food pellet with a like, a comment, a share, or a viral post. Your Instagram feed does not show you content in chronological order by accident. It is deliberately shuffled so that you never know when the next rewarding post will appear. So you keep scrolling, keep pressing, keep searching, just like that rat in Skinner's laboratory. This is not a metaphor. This is the documented, intentional architecture of the most visited platforms on the planet, and you were never meant to know it. Now here is where it becomes even more psychologically profound, because the manipulation does not stop at what you see. It extends to how you feel about yourself while you are seeing it. Social comparison theory, first introduced by psychologist Leon Festinger in 1954, explains that human beings have a deeply rooted instinct to evaluate their own worth by comparing themselves to those around them. For most of human history, those comparisons were limited to your immediate community, your neighbors, your colleagues, your family. But social media shattered that boundary entirely. Today, your brain is constantly, involuntarily comparing your ordinary Monday morning to the highlight reel of 10,000 strangers simultaneously. And the algorithm knows this. It does not just passively show you content, it actively studies your emotional responses in real time. The fraction of a second you pause on a post, the type of content that makes you slow down, the images that trigger a subtle change in your engagement patterns. All of this data is harvested, analyzed, and weaponized to keep you in a state of emotional activation. Why? Because a calm, satisfied person closes the app. An anxious, insecure, emotionally stimulated person keeps scrolling. Former Google design ethicist Tristan Harris, one of the most important whistleblowers of the digital age, testified before the United States Senate that these platforms are engaged in a race to the bottom of the brainstem, deliberately targeting the most primitive, reactive parts of human psychology to extract maximum engagement. Asa Raskin, the designer who invented Infinite Scroll, publicly stated that he regrets creating it, estimating that the feature alone is responsible for approximately 200,000 additional hours of human attention consumed every single day. These are not outside critics speculating. These are the engineers who built the machine, standing up and telling the world what the machine was truly designed to do. The notification that just buzzed on your phone was not random timing. It was calculated using behavioral trigger research to arrive at the precise psychological moment when you are most vulnerable to re-engagement. The red dot on your app icon was not chosen for aesthetic reasons. Red is the color that triggers the highest neurological urgency response in the human brain. None of this happened by coincidence. Every pixel, every sound, every timing interval was a deliberate psychological decision. So the question that now demands your full attention is this: what do you do with this knowledge? Because awareness, in psychology, is not a passive state. It is the first and most powerful act of resistance. When you understand that your dopamine system is being deliberately hijacked, you stop experiencing the craving as a personal weakness and start seeing it as a designed attack on your cognitive autonomy. That shift in perspective is transformative. Research in cognitive behavioral therapy consistently demonstrates that simply naming and understanding a psychological trigger significantly reduces its power over your behavior. You cannot fight an invisible enemy. But once you can see the mechanism clearly, once you recognize the variable reward loop activating in real time as you refresh your feed, you gain something the platform designers never wanted you to have: the power to choose. Begin by auditing your digital environment with the same critical awareness you would apply to any other influence in your life. Turn off non-essential notifications. Recognize that every buzz is not information. It is a summons designed to pull your attention away from your own life and back into a monetized system. Use app timers not as restrictions, but as acts of intentional self-governance. When you feel the compulsive pull to scroll without purpose, pause for 5 seconds and ask yourself one honest question: am I choosing this, or was I triggered into it? That 5-second pause is neurologically significant. It activates the prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making center of the brain, and interrupts the automatic limbic response the platform was counting on. You were not born distracted. You were not born with a short attention span. You were systematically conditioned, through thousands of hours of engineered psychological exposure, to behave exactly the way these platforms need you to behave. But conditioning can be undone. Awareness is the beginning. Knowledge is the architecture of your freedom. And the fact that you are here, watching this, asking these questions about your own mind, that is not a small thing. That is the beginning of reclaiming the most valuable asset you will ever own: your attention, your awareness, and your psychological sovereignty. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.